Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing something a little different. It's kind of cloudy. It's supposed to rain any moment right now. I mean, it's sprinkling a little bit. So it's not really riding weather, you know, and not like go out and walk your horse weather like I do with Buddy. So today instead we are going to clean my grooming brushes. So if you are like me in any way, shape, or form, with horses, cleaning grooming brushes is not always at the forefront of your mind. It is something that should be done fairly often. Not that I have followed that rule. I really am trying to get better at it, but it's something that you just gotta do. Especially if you have a horse that has, you're transferring dirt from one horse to another. Could possibly be transferring fungus from one horse to another. If your horse has that problem, you really need to wash the brushes in between. So today I just thought I would take this opportunity where I wasn't going to be able to ride and clean my brushes. I'm not going to necessarily be able to commentate the entire thing while I'm doing it. You might get that overlay commentating later on, but just watch me clean my brushes. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is take out all these brushes and dust off anything excess on them, and then I'm gonna clean out the bucket. So we'll just start out with dusting up the brushes. Alright, so as you guys know, brushes can get all kinds of crap in them. All kinds of crud, horsehair, dirt, it's ridiculous. So I just took this time to really kind of look through each of my bristle brushes, especially to make sure I got anything out that might cause an issue in the cleaning process. As you can see, I'm using a comb to kind of pull up all of the horsehair that's really deep down in the bristles. This was a pain. Honestly, if I would have thought about it, I would have probably picked something different to pull out all the hair. Now I will say one of the more annoying ones to get hair out of was the mane and tail combs. They were absolutely ridiculous, and every time I thought I got every little bit of hair out from the bristles, it just seemed like there was more still there. So that definitely took me a while, but it was much easier to take it out with it being dry than it would being wet. Alright, there are all my brushes, all ready to be cleaned. And here is my dirty tack box, or my dirty brush box, and I'm going to clean that out first. That way it has time to dry so that the brushes can go straight in. Alright, so the first thing I did was obviously get all of the excess stuff out by dusting it off, and then I took a hose and sprayed out all that I could. There was a lot of loose hay and horsehair, obviously, and it was pretty disgusting. And there were a lot of spider webs underneath it, which was also really gross. Then I just used the Dawn dish detergent and began scrubbing away with one of my sponges. As you can see in the background, Frank, who is one of the barn keepers, was around that day and asked me before he got into video if I didn't mind him being there, and I said, as long as you don't mind. And so you'll probably see him a couple times. Alright, and my box is nice and clean. Get my little excess water out. And I'm going to set it up so that it can dry, so it will be ready for when I put the brushes back in. Now it's time to wash the brushes, and I'm going to be using Dawn dish soap, mainly because it is what I can use on my horses, and I thought if I'm going to brush my horses with it, these brushes, then I want them to be washed in something that's not going to damage or harm them in any way. So, Dawn. This is what I'm using. Doesn't mean you have to use it. This is just what I'm using. So with my bucket being so small, I went ahead and started with the bristled brushes. I decided to do my brushes cleaning in sections, and knowing that the bristled brushes would take much longer, I just went ahead and got them out of the way. So once I have the bristled brushes in the soap, I'm going to go ahead and scrub them and try to get any excess dirt, anything that I can off of them. I take each one out individually and really get my fingers in there in between all the bristles. Then I let them soak, and while I let them soak, I went ahead and washed some things that I didn't need to soak. So like the sweat scraper, a pair of scissors. I really didn't want these to soak in water because of the metal of the scissors, and I dried them off immediately afterwards. Now that the brushes had sat long enough to soak, I went ahead and rinsed them out, looking in between the bristles even afterwards, making sure I hadn't missed anything in my earlier scrubbing. And needless to say, there were a few horse hairs that strayed in that had been pushed all the way down to the bottom. And as you can see, I'm talking to Frank. He just happened to be around, and he really loves to talk. He is a super nice guy, and I don't mind having a conversation with him, especially when I knew I wasn't going to be doing the audio for this video on these parts. Once I was done with the brushes, I went ahead and rinsed out the bucket and refilled it with soap, just so every set of brushes that got washed was in clean water. Next, I went ahead and did the hoof pick and the brushes that didn't need as much attention as far as being soaked as long or were not so complicated to get in and scrub. These didn't take nearly as long to do, and I was quickly rinsing them out, making sure that any hairs that might be left over were completely gone. And because these brushes weren't so thick in their bristles, it was not that much that I had to clean out. Now, the worst one to clean out were definitely the curry combs. Something about getting into those really tight crevices with the sponge, it was just really difficult. But I finally was able to get all of that grimy dirt out, and I was very happy with the result. And last but not least, I did the sponges and the shedding blades. This was definitely interesting. Since they're metal, I tried not to keep them in the water too long and cleaned them off rather quickly and took them over to dry as soon as I was done rinsing everything out. And finally, I cleaned out the bucket and cleaned up my workspace. Now that the brushes were all clean, I laid them out on some nice towels to dry out. Next, I went ahead and took some extra towels and finished drying off the brushes that had already been sitting out to dry. There wasn't really much more that I had to do at this point, but I was just making sure that they didn't sit and develop mold. And to my dismay, this is when a little sponge tried to escape. And here are all my clean brushes. Ooh, took a while, but they look fantastic. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. The brushes looked fabulous when I was done with them. I am very happy that everything smells good. The box is clean. It's just really great. So go ahead and do that for your brushes. Some of you know you need to. I really needed to. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and be brave. Be brave. Bye, guys.